Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome and thank you so much for stopping by to check out my channel. If you are interested in this type of content, please hit the subscribe button down below as well as the notification bell so you are alerted when I post new videos. Now guys, tonight's case is a case that's been going on since late last year. I am pretty sure you all have heard about it or know maybe a little something about it. Today we are going to talk about 5-year-old Taylor Rose Williams, who was reported missing from Jacksonville, Florida by her mother, Brianna Williams, on November 6, 2019. We are going to talk about 28-year-old Brianna Shantae Williams, a U.S. Navy petty officer, and the details surrounding the heartbreaking death of her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor Rose Williams. On November 6, 2019, police issued an Amber Alert after Brianna called them to report that her 5-year-old daughter was missing. Brianna told police that her daughter had just disappeared sometime throughout the middle of the night from their newly rented home in Jacksonville on Ivy Street. She claimed she last saw Taylor sometime in the middle of the night, early morning of November 6th. On the day Brianna reported Taylor missing, police brought her into the station to, get as much information as possible to do their absolute best to try and locate Taylor. Now guys, there was a total of 11 hours of initial recording where police attempted to get as many details as possible, but unfortunately, Brianna was only cooperative for the first 45 minutes to an hour of that initial 11-hour recording.
What unfolded just hours after she reported her daughter missing last November.
An 11-hour recording from November 6, 2019 takes us to the day Brianna Williams reported her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor, missing.
You know where this is going to lead to? No. Okay.
Investigators question her for nearly an hour, asking about her recent sudden move to a new apartment 3 days prior and why movers never saw her daughter, Taylor.
They never saw you put her in the car. They never saw her at the other house. They never saw her. Why is that?
I didn't want them to see her.
Like I said, police spent that first hour trying to get as many details as possible from Brianna about Taylor. It's clear from the recordings that police had doubts about Brianna's story, so they were kind of pressing her for answers to some of their questions. Personally, I believe that they suspected that Brianna was involved or was being less than truthful right from the start. Brianna initially told police that she woke up early in the morning on November 6th and found the back door to her home unlocked and Taylor gone. Now, Jacksonville Sheriff's deputies immediately initiated an Amber Alert and started their investigation into the disappearance of Taylor. Throughout their pleas to the community for help locating Taylor, police found out that Brianna and Taylor had just recently moved into this new house on Ivy Street a few days prior to Taylor disappearing. Brianna and Taylor previously lived in Jacksonville in the Southside Apartments. During police's investigation, they spoke with several people who knew Brianna, like her military co-workers, her neighbors, her aunt and uncle who raised her, her mother, and movers who actually happened to help Brianna move into this new home on Ivy Street a few days prior to Taylor disappearing. Now, all of the witnesses provided disturbing details about Taylor that were very different from Brianna's story that she's shared with various people as well as the detectives. So because police felt like Brianna was being less than helpful in that initial interview, they of course started reaching out, like I said, to various relatives and friends, and they initially reached out to Brianna's mom and Taylor's dad to see or to find out the last time they had actually saw Taylor, and both of them said they had not seen Taylor in almost a year. They actually had not seen her since January of 2019. When police presented this to Brianna during their questioning, she actually said that her mother was not telling the truth and she didn't know why her mom even told the police that she hadn't seen Taylor in a year, because she said that was absolutely not true. Brianna actually claimed that she drove to Tuscaloosa, Alabama on October 31st to pick up Taylor from her mother, who had been watching her during the entire month of October. Police continued to question Brianna about Taylor's care while she worked for the several months prior to October. Brianna said Taylor was originally going to daycare on base in Jacksonville, but once her schedule changed, she pulled her out of the daycare on base and took her back and forth to her mother in Alabama. Now, she didn't specify how often she would go back and forth. She just said she would take her back and forth to Alabama to leave her with her mother so that she can work or have some, so that her mother could watch her while she worked on base. Deputies learned on their own that Taylor was also enrolled at kindergarten daycare in Jacksonville until April 19, 2019. And then she attended daycare on base. So basically, Brianna's story about going back and forth to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to drop off and pick up her daughter was an absolute lie. Police also reached out to the base daycare center, and they showed Taylor's last day of attendance with them was April 29th, 2019. So a woman named Tiffany came forward and told police that she answered a Craigslist ad from a woman who needed help moving. The ad, which was placed by Brianna, said a woman needed help to move from Southside Apartments, including moving items for a little girl, like a toddler bed. But Tiffany, who answered the ad and agreed to help out, thought it was strange that she never actually saw the little girl the day that she helped Brianna move. Tiffany told police that she even heard water running in the apartment while they were packing things up on the truck to move, which she thought was odd because the water just continued to run. And when she asked Brianna about her daughter, because obviously it's odd that her daughter wasn't there unless she left her with someone else to watch her while they moved, Brianna told her that her daughter was in the taking a bath. During the recorded interview, police asked Brianna why the movers had not seen Taylor the entire time during the move. Brianna responded with a smirk and said because she didn't want them to. So guys, clearly, in my opinion, and I don't know about you, so far, I feel like Brianna has some serious issues. I do not know how to describe her. Like, I question, is she a sociopath or a psychopath or what? Every time I see her, she seems removed from the entire situation. She shows no remorse. She doesn't show any sadness about her daughter. She just is almost like a blank slate. She doesn't appear distraught at all. So a neighbor in Brianna's former apartment complex, the Southside apartment complex, shared more disturbing information regarding Taylor. The neighbor said that he noticed that Taylor was frequently left home alone. He told police that one day in particular stood out in his mind because it was his mom's birthday, and it was the day he noticed little Taylor walking around the apartment complex alone when he got off the phone with his mom and stopped to ask her what she was doing. She told the neighbor she was looking for her mommy. At that time, he was on the phone, like I said, with his mother, so he ended that call immediately, went to Brianna's apartment with Taylor, and realized that Brianna truly was not there. He took a quick look around the apartment and noticed that the apartment was an absolute mess. But he told Taylor to stay inside of the apartment and then made sure she locked the door. So after all of this occurred, I believe the neighbor has come out and said that he has regrets for not calling the police. I know this was one of my immediate thoughts, and I'm sure you are probably thinking the same thing as well. I just don't really understand why he didn't reach out to the police. Maybe he didn't want to, maybe he was afraid, being that they would start to question him or accuse him of doing something, or maybe he didn't want to cause any trouble for Brianna. I'm not really sure, but he did just put her back into the house and made sure that she stayed there. He would watch out for her until Brianna got home. On this day, the neighbor said that Taylor was carrying a doll and had on the same clothes that she was wearing in the pictures that were used for her Amber Alert. And like I said, he did mention to police that Taylor was basically left home alone, it seemed like every other day. Now, he may have been exaggerating a little, but I'm pretty sure he knows what he saw. He even went on to say that because Taylor was left home alone so much, he started to watch for Brianna and noticed that she would come home like every day around 6:30 or so with food for like one person. So basically this poor little baby was left in an apartment by herself for a full work day. The neighbor said the last time that he actually saw Brianna and Taylor together was May 21st, 2019. He went on to tell police that after he had not seen Taylor for several days, he ended up asking Brianna where she was, and Brianna told him the same story that she tried to tell the police, which is that Taylor was in Alabama with her mother. So Brianna was clearly sticking to her story, that she had been giving to a variety of different people. This neighbor said that Brianna basically moved out of the Southside apartment sometime between October 27th and 31st of 2019, which actually is just maybe like a week prior to Taylor going missing from their new home on Ivy Street. On November 12th, 2019, police in Marengo County, Alabama, said they found human remains in a wooded area between the Alabama cities of Linden and Demopolis during the search for Taylor Rose Williams. On November 25th, authorities confirmed the remains were Taylor. Her remains were severely decomposed, and police believe that Taylor had been there well before November 6th when she was reported missing by her mom. The day police discovered Taylor's remains in Marengo County, police in Jacksonville obtained a warrant for Brianna's arrest. Now, that same day that Jacksonville sheriffs obtained their warrant to arrest Brianna, military police ended up contacting Brianna at her job on base and escorted her to their vehicle just to kind of have a conversation with her, I'm sure to talk about what was going on. As soon as they began to tell Brianna that she was a person of interest, not that they had found Taylor, but that she was a person of interest, she started to vomit and kind of just like have some sort of episode or reaction. It was believed or is believed that she had some sort of reaction to an attempted overdose.
This is video of Brianna Williams when she first learns she's a person of interest in her daughter Taylor's disappearance.
Now they're saying that you're a person of interest now.
You can see her facial expression immediately changes, and then minutes later, she becomes unresponsive, prompting the driver to get her medical attention.
Take it to the ER. All right. Williams, talk to me, Williams, talk.
So at this point, like I said, Brianna had not been told that Taylor's body was found. She was immediately taken to the hospital for medical attention for the overdose, and where she eventually recovered. And on November 21st, Brianna Williams was arrested on charges of child neglect and giving false information to law enforcement during an investigation. Now, up until this point, I do want to reiterate that Brianna was not helpful at all. Police were clearly saying, publicly that she had refused to cooperate with them after the initial interview. That hour time span is all the time she spent with giving them any sort of information. In March 2020, the state amended their charges, and Brianna was charged with willful torture, punishment and caging a minor, failure to provide adequate care, aggravated child abuse, child neglect, and tampering with human remains. She has not been charged with murder, but I honestly suspect investigators are working towards that. So basically, they are saying that she neglected Taylor. She, also tried to interfere with the investigation by tampering with Taylor's remains. Like I just read, it does sound as if police believe Brianna did something to harm Taylor sometime between April and November of 2019. That is a span of almost 8 months where Brianna kept up the charade about the whereabouts of Taylor. But if you remember, the neighbor said the last time that he actually saw Brianna and Taylor together was May 21st, 2019. So sometime after May 21st and prior to just before November 6th, something terribly went wrong. And I really want to know what happened to Taylor, and I want to know what was going on with Brianna. This case is basically a carbon copy of the Kasey Anthony case, in my opinion. It looks like Brianna planned this whole thing out the idea of moving apartments, traveling back and forth to Alabama. It seems like everything was done with the intent to conceal the fact that she either did something horrible to Taylor or something horrible happened to Taylor because of Brianna's neglect. She clearly moved from the Southside apartment complex. To me, it seems like she was stupidly thinking that she would not be able to be tied to anything that happened with Taylor based on moving away from that location, which is probably where a lot occurred that we still don't know about. She honestly, like I said, if you watch any of the court proceedings, she clearly is out of it. She just doesn't look like she's in her right mind. To me, it's just like she lacks any sort of emotional attachment, like I said, to Taylor. And it's just like the Kasey Anthony case. They both only cared about maintaining this whole lie or charade to protect themselves. They went to, both seem to have gone to great lengths to kind of like throw people off. Remember how Kasey Anthony freaking let police go to Disney or Universal or wherever it was and walked around in there, like basically forced her way in and made people think that she actually worked at this place. And, people were letting her in. She caused this whole confusion to keep up her lie about what actually, she was creating in her mind. It's the same thing with Brianna. She's creating this whole idea that, oh no, I take Taylor to my mom's in Alabama every so often. We go back and forth. That's like, to me, it's so unreasonable. Even if she, did do that, why would she need to go back and forth? Why would Taylor need to come back to Jacksonville and then go back to Alabama? Why not just leave her there or let her stay for a short, a period of time and she go visit and then come back? It just didn't make any sense. And obviously police did not believe it either. On April 7th, 2019, Brianna pled not guilty to these 5 counts against her. You can see her sitting in one of her pretrial hearings playing with her fingernails as if she's like not even interested in what's happening around her. It's so disgusting. And then she comes into these hearings a lot of times, I'll show, like, you'll see the pictures where she sometimes have her hair braided back in these 2 cornrows like a little kid. I mean, she clearly looks like a child. She doesn't look like she's 28 years old. But then one time I saw her coming into court and her hair was like wild and crazy. She's, dressed in a red jumpsuit. And from what I understand, that red jumpsuit is to signify that she's at risk for attempting suicide or harming herself, or that she has some sort of medical need that they have to pay attention to. So following Brianna's arrest, because she was not being helpful in the search for Taylor, police used her vehicle's GPS system to track down her whereabouts. And I believe this is how they were led to Taylor's body in Marengo County. Prosecutors have obtained a ton of information, a ton of evidence, including Brianna's digital footprint, like, the website she went to, everything that she did on her computer or on her cell phone or whatever. They have her purchase receipts. They even have DNA evidence. They have her cell phone records. They have her friends, her contacts, everything. They also have her vehicle. Brianna's black Honda also showed suspicious evidence. Police found adult toys, dead maggots, and soiled clothes inside of her black Honda, except for, this stuff was apparently everywhere in the car, except for in the trunk, which is odd. They basically say the car was a mess, exactly like the apartment, except, like I said, the trunk was empty and it had a rubber liner, which is probably usual for, that type of car. But the rubber liner covered the floor of the trunk, and police said it looked like it had been recently cleaned. They had a cadaver dog sniff the vehicle, and the dog did give positive identification on the trunk. Evidence also showed that police found possible blood stains inside one of the closets and 6 other locations inside of the apartment in the Southside apartment complex. As you can also see in the photo, it looks like police pulled up the carpet for evidence. And I believe that this is the closet where little Taylor was caged, basically. Police also indicate that there was some sort of scent of decay, I believe, even in the apartment. There's boxes, trash, everything. To me, I don't even understand the mover coming. I'm like, what did they actually take? It doesn't look like they took anything. I believe Brianna selectively took things like the toddler bed, maybe a few clothes, but the majority of things were probably taken belonged to her. I think she had those few things taken to the new house on Ivy Street because she probably wasn't sure how long she was going to continue pretending that Taylor was alive. And if someone came into that apartment and put two and two together that, hey, she didn't take any of the kids' stuff, that may look a little odd. Or if someone came to her new house on Ivy Street and she didn't have any kids' stuff, people would be like, well, where's all of Taylor's stuff? Where's Taylor, for that matter? One of the sad things about looking at these photos of that apartment is, Taylor, the fact that Taylor had to live like this. I mean, she was 5 years old, essentially, basically left alone in an apartment day after day, at least 8 to 10 hours. And the apartment pretty much looked like it did after she left. So it looks like it was disgusting. Just as the charges suggest, it is like Taylor was basically tortured in this apartment. She was treated like an animal. So the question is, why did little Taylor lose her life? And actually, how did she lose her life? Let me know what you think is going on with Brianna. It just seems like she didn't care. She was so neglectful, and it just seems like maybe this little girl was getting in her way or getting in her life, getting in the way of her lifestyle, or something that she was searching for was being hindered by having little Taylor. Now, I'm no therapist, I'm no psychologist, I have no background, no medical background whatsoever. When you go back to the case of Brianna, just at the very basic level, she had options. I mean, even if she was going through some sort of mental issues or mental health crisis, she could have reached out to someone on base. She could have even reached out to her aunt and uncle who raised her, who she had not talked to in 3 years. If you listen to Mr. Jackson, it is very clear that he wanted nothing but the best for Brianna, and I'm sure they would have dropped any and everything to come and get Taylor and to help Brianna get herself together if something was going on which caused her to kind of just fall apart or have an issue. I am just really intrigued by her behavior, and I'm just interested in what's going on in the mind of Brianna. I ask you to take in everything I've shared with you, and also feel free to check out some of these articles. You can even check out some of her court hearings and just watch her demeanor, watch her behavior. Even during the investigation and when police were questioning her, she was laid back, uninterested. She had no emotion. She didn't even care. And as a mom, if something happened to my child, I mean, she clearly wasn't trying to hide the fact that she could care less about what happened to this little girl. She showed no emotion whatsoever. She wasn't even she was slouched over and kind of like, why are you talking to me about this? I don't have time for this. I'm ready to go. And she was only 1 hour in at that point. She couldn't even devote an hour of time to talk to police with some sense of intelligence about what went on. And this is coming from a young lady who multiple people say that she was extremely intelligent. So I am definitely interested to know the outcome of this case, and I will be following it until the end of the trial. Brianna had a pretrial hearing on August 4th. I will let you know if anything comes of that. I did find out that they added another pretrial hearing on August 25th. Some of those hearings initially were being recorded by media, but I have not been able to find all of them. She did claim indigent and is being represented by a public defender by the name of Joshua Andrew Beard. Like I said, her next pretrial date is August 25th. If media covers it, meaning if it's shown, I will definitely watch it and definitely share back with you what I find or what they are talking about. I went on the court court docket, and it really doesn't give any details about the nature of the hearing. It just says that this is another pretrial hearing. They are in the discovery phase, defense asking for prosecution's, records and vice versa. So we'll see what happens. Brianna has pled not guilty, and her attorneys have asked for additional time to prepare for this case. She is being held in the Duval County, I think, jail, maybe Duval County jail, I'm not sure, but she's being held in jail on over $1 million bond. I really wonder what her defense is going to be to these charges. This to me is just like I said, Kasey Anthony all over again. And I'm also waiting for prosecutors to add that murder charge in. I'm pretty sure it's coming. I think that they are meticulously going through every single shred of evidence that they find. There's so much out there right now that I can spend hours and hours digging, and I will continue to look through some of the stuff to see what all they have. They have basically pulled everything for her. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I am interested to know your opinion on what can drive a person to do something like this. Brianna basically seemed to have everything going, or had everything going for her. She obviously had to be pretty intelligent, just as her family and friends and, old classmates and community members say. She, went to college educated, in the Navy. She was just on this path to having, it seemed to be, everything figured out. So I just really am interested to know your thoughts about why she would do something like this. She basically tortured this little girl. Leaving her, there's really no excuse. If she had no money, I just can't think of any reason why she would do this. I just don't understand the logic behind it. Even if she had to ask the neighbor who was always looking after Taylor anyways, she could have asked him, hey, you mind watching her? Which, to be honest, that's probably better than what she was doing. It's crazy to me that she did this. So let me know down in the comments below what you think, what your thoughts are on Brianna and her mindset, what's going on in her mind to, do something like this. And I will definitely be reporting back anything else that I find out about this case, especially as it pertains to her hearing, the prosecution's basically angle. Like, where are they going with this? Are they actually planning to charge her with murder? Are they working towards that? I sincerely hope they do. I'm pretty sure they know more than what they're putting out there. Justice needs to be served for Brianna. She didn't, no child deserves to be in that type of situation, and let alone, 5 years old, just 5 years old, barely talking, barely able to do anything, and essentially having to take care of herself, being left in a filthy, nasty, dirty behind apartment and closet where police actually said that they found, soiled clothes and feces and all kinds of stuff inside this closet. So your nasty self basically just left this little girl in this closet to fend for herself day after day with one can of soup. But the neighbor says you're coming in the house with, takeout for yourself. That's all I have for you on this case, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and be safe. Bye.